Okay, so welcome everyone to this session on A to I, Academia to Industry, Bridging the Gap course, which is today being held between Pharma Elite and Indira College of Pharmacy. So thank you so much, Indira College of Pharmacy, giving us this opportunity to talk to you about what we are doing at Pharma Elite and what you can expect from Academia to Industry course. So all students, welcome. Welcome to all the professors or any other guests who are present today on this particular session. In this Academia to Industry course, it's being driven by 6 of us professionals in pharmacy. You may know quite a few of us. I'm Dr. Parizar Elchidana, who is Principal Technical Consultant at ACG right now. Dr. Mala Menon, she is a very well-known retired professor from Bombay College of Pharmacy. Dr. Amita Karnik, who is an entrepreneur and Director Technical at Pentec. Dr. Varsha Pradhan, who is a consultant on regulatory affairs and post-market vigilance. Hema Nair, Dr. Hema Nair, who's an assistant professor at Sri Venkateshwara College of Pharmacy, Hyderabad. And very proud to say Dr. Ejaz Hussain also joins us on quite a few sessions. He's an independent consultant, advisor, and mentor, Insight Advice Solutions, and also represents the US FDA. So we 6 of us, along with Dharmesh Mehta, who is from Pharma Elite, we represent the complete A2I team. And let's move forward to our agenda for today. With a brief discussion, with a brief introduction and a video from Dr. Ejaz Hussain on why, how, and what, which will be played at the end of the complete session. I will be taking you through the overview of pharma industry, the future trends and avenues in pharma, the gaps that exist from academic perspective and the industry perspective. That will be then followed by the A2I course modules that we have to offer and then the final concluding remarks. Now you would feel like how I am qualifying to do this course with you or even present the course to you. Just to give you a very brief background about myself, I have almost 35 years of industry experience. But it's not just industry. Throughout the industry experience, I have been in very close touch with academia. I used to take lectures. I was an examiner. I'm also a guide for PhD. I'm on the board of quite a few colleges and academic institutions for their academic courses, not just in India, but even in Dubai. And on the industrial front, I have started as an R&D formulator and then risen to the position of CEO or managing director of 2 different companies, which I have helped set up in India. So I have a vast experience over all the possible areas of pharmaceuticals that one may expect in industry. Then I had a small stint at Dubai, where I was a chief technical officer trying to set up a company in Dubai itself. And that's where my interaction with colleges in Dubai also began. I was back in India a year and a half, and I have joined ACG as the principal technical consultant for the pharma side. And I'm also the president of Control Release Society India chapter. So this is a bit of a brief about myself. So let's go to overview of pharma industry. Pharmacy profession is a very, very noble profession, I would say. So why do we want to become a pharmacist? There are 10 main reasons that I would quote. We want to help people get well, enjoy a wide variety of career opportunities. Believe me, the opportunities are huge. We can benefit from the demand for pharmacists, which is going up day by day. We are an important member of healthcare teams. We can have job mobility, stability, and flexibility. Currently, we are even enjoying working from home. We are a part of major innovations in medication therapy. Tell me who was involved in development of vaccines? It was a pharmacist team, the biotechnologists, along with the pharmacists who were involved, work with state-of-the-art technology, which is currently available, help defend against bioterrorism, be a highly respected member of the community, and we like to work directly with the doctors for product promotion. So such 10 important reasons why we have joined the pharmacy profession, why I would love to be a pharmacist, and why we are all here today. But still, there is a little bit of itch in some other people's minds who would have joined the pharmacy profession not out of choice, but out of compulsion because they could not get in maybe admissions for medicals or dental or even engineering. But friends, believe me, this is the most noble profession to be in because can doctors cure a patient on their own? The answer is no. Doctors can just diagnose what the patient is suffering from. Who actually treats the patient? The patient is treated by the medicines that we formulate, that we manufacture, that we dispense and we distribute and see to it that it's getting into the hands of the patients. So that's why I feel that the profession that I am in, that we all are in, it's a very, very noble profession and we should be proud to be a part of it. So let me go to the next slide. I don't know. So coming to the overview now of the Indian pharma industry. India is the largest provider of generic drugs. You must have heard of it. We rank third in terms of production by volume, but 14th by value. And you must all be understanding why this is happening. This is happening because in India, we can manufacture and produce medicines at a much more cost effective manner than what the world does. Please do not use the word cheap. We are not cheap. We are more cost effective. And that is why, although by volume we are third, by value we may be 14, but doesn't disturb us to that extent. Our pharmaceutical sector supplies over 50% of the global demand of vaccines, 40% of the generic drugs, and 25% of all the medicines which are being dispensed in the UK. What a proud moment that we should be feeling. The domestic pharma industry includes a network of 3,000 drug companies, 10,500 pharma manufacturing units. Over 80% antiretroviral drugs which are being sold globally are from India. The country also has a large pool of scientists and engineers with the potential to steer the industry ahead to greater heights. India enjoys an important position in the global pharma sector. So what is advantage India? As I said, cost efficiency. We have very good economic drivers because of increasing penetration of health insurance to push the expenditure up on the healthcare in the medicines in India. Policy support. The government is supporting the pharma industry to a very, very great extent, to the sense that currently with the policy of Atmanirbhar Bharat, we want to make most of the APIs in-house. And in order to support that, the government has come up with PLI schemes in 13 sectors, and pharmaceutical ingredients and drug intermediates, etc., are one of them. Increasing investments, we are getting more and more foreign direct investments coming into India, and it's up to a value of almost 17.75 billion from April to December 2020. What a way to proceed ahead. So what do we see as our road ahead? Medicine spending in India is expected to grow, so 100% the industry will grow. Going forward, we have better growth in domestic sales, which would also depend upon the companies to align their portfolio. As I said, the government has taken a lot of steps to help even reduce the costs and bring down the healthcare expenses. Not just that, there is a thrust on rural healthcare programs for life-saving drugs and vaccines. So what are the opportunities in pharma industry for you friends today? You can join the R&D in formulation development, where you develop formulations, analytical method developments, even packaging development. A pharmacist has a big role to play even on the packaging front because he or she understands the medicines best. We are a very important part of the technical operations group, which is responsible for scaling up products from R&D to production. On the intellectual property, we have a very big role to play. We can also be a part of the project management team on the API development if you're interested in APIs or bulk drugs, and 100% clinical research, we could definitely be a big part of. Coming to the operations, manufacturing, yes, there are pharmacists on the shop floor handling the machines, manufacturing, packaging, etc. Even on the supply chain part, the dispensing pharmacy, where even the pharmacist is required to be present to sign off the dispensing of the material as and when is being done. Engineering side, pharmacists can play a big role, and environment, health and safety. Coming to a biggest role which a pharmacist can play is on quality assurance and compliance. Friends, we know our medicines best. We know our profession best. We are the best people to be in this particular role. Normally in industry, we find that we don't get many pharmacy graduates and postgraduates coming in quality assurance or quality control. Mostly it is the science graduates and postgraduates. But this is a big avenue and a big opportunity for us to get into. We can get into quality systems management, the regulatory compliance part, document management, which is one big gap or a vacant area where we can contribute a lot, data verification part, the change control management, product releases before it is sent to the market, carrying out audits, internal audits or external audits or self audits. There are so many different types of audits in which one can get involved if you are interested in auditing. GXP training, we can get involved along with the HR department and be there for doing the GXP training for the rest of the staff. Validation is a very important aspect of any pharma operations. Supplier qualification, once again, by auditing the suppliers, finally carrying out training to other part of the organizations. Quality control, yes, once again, if you're a B Farm, you're interested in testing, you can definitely join quality control department where you can aid in the testing, sample managements or standard managements, calibration and validation of various instruments and equipments which are there in the lab. Regulatory affairs. This is a very big area in which we can get involved. It involves global regulatory submissions of the various documents and the data that is collected in order to get product approvals, product life cycle management, because once submission is done, that's not enough. Every year we need to submit responses and carry out product lifecycle management for each and every product in each and every region or country that you would have filed the product. That would be product lifecycle management. And as and when you're getting product approvals, you may be receiving deficiencies. It's the regulatory department who is responsive to giving responses to those deficiencies which are received. Of course, sales and marketing is very simple. I wouldn't go much into details. If you're interested in marketing, this is another area where as pharmacy graduates and postgraduates, you can get into. Apart from that, there are two other areas which I would like to point out. One is pharmacovigilance and medical affairs, and very upcoming field. A lot of companies have their back offices out here in India. You can join any of those. Another part is ITIS, Information Technology and Information Services, and computer systems validation, computer systems assurance. Here again, it's not just the IT guys who can be involved. It is a combination of IT and the quality assurance person who is involved in setting up and validation of the computer systems and validation. So if you have slightest inclination towards information technology, be there, get into it. It's a big area and a vast opportunity for someone with a pharmacy background to get into. Not just all these things, you can definitely become an entrepreneur yourself, but don't just get into entrepreneurship just after your graduation, post graduation. Have some experience. Even to get those experience, it's very important for you today to know what are the gaps that are existing. Once you know about the gaps, you can definitely get a bit of experience and start your own business. Another area that you can get into is pharmacy. You can start your own pharmacy shops. You will be the best person to deliver the drug, because see this particular point, as a pharmacist you may prepare personalized medicines, which is the latest in trend. participate in patient rounds at the hospital, reduce the spread of infections, conduct research on clinical trials, or focus on specific patient population or disease states. So only as a community pharmacist, you can carry out all these activities. So don't be skeptical about starting a pharmacy or getting into community pharmacy. This once again is a big area that one can get into. So these are all the can you hear Dr. Mala Menon? She's speaking right now.
No, ma'am.
No. Okay, so then let me continue with the presentation. So now let's go to the academia
Right.
gaps. I would just present a few perspectives on academics. You can have a very, very bright career, as I mentioned, with pharmacy profession. We began with dispensing, the dispensing pharmacy, which is being supported to by the doctors, and then that followed on by the industrial pharmacy. Along with that, there are all the other options or opportunities that one has, which you can look at, and I've already discussed in my previous slide. In around 1980s and 1990s, WHO came up with a recognition of the role of pharmacists in healthcare, and they had several meetings where they would discuss various guidelines for pharmacy education and also training of the pharmacists in various areas. So what you see on the right is various guidelines that they were coming about. Apart from that, they have also come up with a document on community role, what I mentioned earlier as a community pharmacist. But unfortunately in India, this community pharmacist has not just evolved as yet. So current education system, the current syllabus is more towards the industrial pharmacy, and there's hardly any talk about profession of community pharmacists. Now, coming to pharmacy education in India, the main regulatory bodies which govern the education are PCI and AICTE. And on the institutions front, you will see we have more than 4,000 institutions. Now, these 4,000 institutions, out of that, maximum are privately managed. And there is a feeling that there is a bit of an erosion in the type of education which is being carried out. Now, in order to improve the education, the government of India has put in various regulations and initiatives to encourage the improvement. And some of them are accreditation by NBA, where you have self-assessment approach. There are awards being instituted for industry linkage basis. There's national institution ranking also available by a federation called NIRF. Under RUSA, which is put up by Maharashtra government, there is an initiative where the industry will be involved in training of the pharmacy faculty. Coming to the next slide, the curriculum for pharmacy, we have most of them as core subjects and a few allied subjects. We are learning so many subjects in the curriculum, and most of you students are aware of all these subjects that we are teaching. But we need to have a holistic educational foundation to build upon. And to do this, the gap which is there with respect to the industry needs to be bridged. So this gap between industry and academia in pharmaceutical education exists, and this was also recognized in a study that was carried out by and reported in Times of India as late as February 15, 2020. Looking at this, we felt, why don't we come up with a course on A2I where we can afford solutions to the students and academic professors to gain knowledge and experience from us and move forward into industry. So various recommendations are pushed over here with respect to the gap between industry and academia, where they say introduce innovative teaching methodologies, revise the curriculum design and delivery, overall institution startup, boost the various infrastructures. Now we need to understand why this gap is there. On the academic front, we have mostly the exam orientation and the mark orientation where students are mainly studying to get marks in the various exams that they are uppering. The basic principles are really missed out, and how the application of this particular education can be done to industry is not understood well. On the industry issues, there is, of course, there is a problem of cost and quality time balancing. There is continuous demanding on the pressure for the professors, basically with respect to the CGMP requirements, etc. There is limited collaboration between the academia and industry, which we cannot blame the academia for. And there are very few opportunities for training and internships which are given to academic students and professors. There are some other social issues also which are existing, which we cannot negate. The IoT part, the additive social media, information overload, the peer pressures, etc. With respect to the main changing values which we expect the academia to undergo is very, very minimal. There is reduced attention, erosion of independent and critical thinking, and drifting away from the rigor of science. Now there is squares over 2020, 2021 because of the various lockdowns that were imposed, and virtual education that we are planning to impart cannot replace in any way the real experience that people can have. So this is where we are looking at the academia gap. Coming from industry, let's look at what is the industry's perspective on the gaps. What are the gaps that we are talking about? Do they really exist? And how we can establish an approach that satisfies both industry and academic requirements. And this is something what we have very consciously tried to build in through our A2I experiences. Coming a bit over here on the revenues of pharma industry, if you see there is a continuous growth in the CAGR, that is compound annual growth rate. The percentages have gone up from 6 in 2005 to almost 42 in 2021. It was expected to be 55, but because of the COVID, there is a bit of a dip. But look at 2024 and 2030, a straight rise to 130 billion US dollars by 2030. Indian biotechnology industry has not fallen back in any respect. Even that is expected to grow to 150 billion dollars by 2025. This again is a big avenue where we as pharmacists can help the biotechnologists to formulate products. India's drugs and pharmaceutical exports stood at 24.44 billion in FY21 despite the COVID. And India's, as I said, cost of production is significantly lower. Sorry. So friends, is the Indian industry ready to take on these challenges as predicted? The answer is yes. The industry may be ready with the infrastructure, but is the right talent available? And you, my friends, are the talent that we are looking at to come over and support industry in achieving these huge requirements that we are coming up with. So what are the gaps as per industry perspective? One is academia mainly deals with theory, and this is something which we already talked upon. Industry deals with practicality and experience. Documentation is one very key area where there is a huge gap. The documentation expectation requirements, the contiguity of the documents means document when the job is done. The signing off of the various documents, the dating at the time the documentation is done are very important in industry. This needs to be taught in academia right from the very beginning. And we will appreciate that moving forward, as and when the practicals are being carried out, the professors go ahead, sign and date the journals as and when the experiment is done and completed. Data management, again, very critical area because In pharma companies, we are not just manufacturing products, we are manufacturing a huge volume of data. And why this data is important? It's very important because all the audits that are carried out are done on the basis of the data that has been generated. The auditors will be on the shop floor, they will audit online on the day they are present. But what about the previous batches that were manufactured? What about the previous data that was generated? That would be audited only through the data that has been captured. So the data management with respect to capturing the data, archiving of the data, retrieval of the data, taking backups of the data, everything is so very important. And hence data management is a very critical area when you look at the gaps which are there between academia and industry. Technological management and the scale of operations, we do understand that industry is moving faster on technology than what the colleges and the institutions can catch up. Of course, they cannot have that same type of technology, instruments, equipments which an industry has. And even the scale of operations. In colleges, we will be working on very small scales, maybe few gram quantities or kilogram quantities, whereas in commercial operations, we are almost talking of tons of batches of data. So when we are talking of that particular scale, to scale up from lab scale to production, there is a tech ops group involved who is helping in scaling up the complete technology. This is another gap where we feel students coming out of college cannot get imbibed into immediately, and it requires some experience. Infrastructure availability, it's available for academia. In certain colleges we find they are so poor on the infrastructure, they don't have analytical instruments, they don't know what is pH, what is pH meter, what is HPLC. To that extent, some remote colleges are there. We can help them out by bringing them to various colleges where infrastructure is available or giving them some exposure in industry. Regulatory updates. Once again, the regulations are changing at a very, very fast pace. Industry is keeping up to it. Are the academia keeping up to the changes in the regulatory requirements on an ongoing basis? Regulatory affairs, yes, has been introduced as a course currently, I do believe, through PCI, but still there is a gap. It's not to the extent or to the level industry expectations are. Coming to the next point on validation and calibration, I did mention about it in my previous slides that validation under QA is one of the areas where we can really look at. It's very interesting and it's very, very important because any data or any product or any process that has been utilized which has not been validated, that data is null and void. Those products are asked to be recalled from the market and they are not acceptable, they are not released, and they cannot be supplied to the patient if the data and documentation is coming from non-validated equipment, instruments, and procedures. Coming to calibration, once again, calibration is a key requirement. There are daily calibrations, there are point of use calibrations. Say, for example, a pH meter, you carry out daily calibrations, but even before you use it, you do a calibration before you take the pH reading. There are other calibration requirements for all analytical instruments, for engineering instruments, for production machines, before you start any activity. So this is another very key area where I feel there is a little bit of less understanding in academia as compared to what industry expectations are. We capture all these points in our A2I course and we do a complete study of validation and calibration. Time management, very critical for industry. If you don't deliver on time, you lose the market. Hello, can people go on mute, please? So time management is very, very important for industry. We cannot just say this can be done tomorrow or day after, or we'll complete it later. You have to complete it as and when it's required to be done. On the communication front, there is a gap maybe in written communication, but I feel in today's day oral communication is excellent in academia. I have been attending various presentation sessions, various poster presentations, abstract presentations. The students are doing a beautiful job, the way confidently they are presenting their data. Not just that, even in the Q&A sessions, the way they answer so confidently. So I feel oral communication has improved drastically over a period of time. Maybe written communication still needs a bit of an improvement. Exposure to the latest in industry, that is pharma 4, what it is, industry 4 has gone up. Pharma needs to keep up to track, and we also need to implement pharma 4. Artificial intelligence, automation, machine learning, these are the new buzzwords. Robotics, cobotics, these are the new buzzwords. I'm not sure whether you learn them in academia, but definitely industry needs them. Data analytics and statistics. I mentioned earlier we capture huge amount of data, but it's just stored and it's there for the audit. Do we actually analyze the data? Data analytics today is so important that you can analyze the data, trend the data, find out a lot of information from it, generate that information, convert it into knowledge, and use that knowledge to improve upon your product and your processes as per the requirements of not just good manufacturing practices, but quality management systems. It requires that you should show a continuous improvement in your product and processes. So bridging the gap, how we can do that? One is revision and alignment of the curriculum with the industry requirement, which I do believe is happening. It can't be once or it has to be on a continuous basis. Industry experienced teachers and professors can be brought in to give lectures to the students, invite industry professionals with the relevant subject knowledge to share practical insights with the students. Industry internships for the students to go to the industry and carry out some activity in the industry, have a complete insight on how it is working. But this needs to be monitored and rigorous controls need to be put in, and key objectives need to be delivered during internship, which should be set for the industry right from the beginning. So what is the path forward? You need to attend a well-devised professional development program which facilitates continuous professional development. And this we are one of the agencies, pharma as Pharma Light and A2I, who can provide this professional development through our professional experiences, which are shared very, very openly during our sessions, and mentorship to students are also carried out. So I will end my session now over here, and we will carry on with the courses and the modules that we have to offer through two of our other presenters, Dr. Hema Nair and Dr. Varsha Pradhan. So Hema, over to you.
Thank you, madam. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
Hema.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are multiple people. I guess they are facing audio issues. They're putting in the chat box. So I hope everyone can hear. And very good morning to everyone. And it's a really pleasant task. And very happy to be with everyone this morning. And thank you, Parizad madam, for taking us through that journey. It was excellent. I'm sure there were a lot of eye openers there for our students who are there with us this morning. No, I'm Hema and I'm an academician with 20 plus years of experience in the academia. So a lot of the gaps which I also have a close ringside view of the industry. So putting the two together, a lot of gaps which madam has spoken about are very true, and they do exist. And when people recruit from the industry, they find that the student uh, has the degree but is not just ready to go. Okay, there's a lot of training and there's a lot of polishing required before they come into tune with the industry. It's also the gap also, I would say, differs from institute to institute. Some institutes, they do manage to give students good industry level exposure, whereas in some it's hardly there. They do the B Farm like it's any other course, and the gap is much more wider in those cases. So what we want to emphasize here is that you think with your degrees, whether you're completing your B Farms or M Farms, you think and you have done your bit and gone through your academic rigor very nicely, but still what you get in your institute is knowledge. You have to be able to apply it, which are two different things. right? So no, in fact, our A2I, this whole team was born out of this passion. It was born out of the passion to be able to help you transit much more easily into the industry. This, all these gaps that we're talking about, it's not only it was realized in this group, but it's also been realized all over. Madam spoke about Ruza, which is an initiative of the Maharashtra state government to train teachers and make them more conversant with the norms of the functioning of the industry. PCI has, as early as some of you may be aware, but in March 2021, they have come up with a scheme on capacity building industrial training for teachers, where they facilitate training for teachers in the industry, so that the teacher comes back and gives it to the student in the institute. So these initiatives are there, but of course it will take time to show results. And in the meantime, we would like to step in and close the gap. Or rather, I would say, you please step in into our course, and we'll surely do our best to try and ensure that your transition into the industry is smoother. At least you're aware of the ground realities and exactly how things happen. So, no, let me introduce you to our programs. We have put together 4 modules. Okay, you can choose from whatever interests you. You could also do the modules to see what is the exact thing that happens in that front on the industry level, and to see if it does interest you, if you have not got to that level as yet. So we have pharmaceutical operations, quality, formulation development, and regulatory sciences. Okay, so although we've split all the content into 4 modules, we completely know and understand that actually all these are very much closely integrated. In fact, in our last run, very often, when through mutual discussions, we realize this topic everybody should listen to. Audits, everybody should listen to. So we've opened it out for even for the others. So the bottom line is, what we want to do is to give you a very strong learning experience. The learning experience is going to be via sessions. Sessions will be held by some of our experts, and also we have been fortunate enough to locate some like-minded people from the industry who will come and share years and years of their experience with you. So it's going to be an experiential journey if, for you, for those of you who join us. Besides this, of course, we have projects. We'll have a major capstone project. We have a lot of group activities and case studies and such things put into place so that you really learn. Okay, so let's move on to the next part, which is the introductory module. This is common irrespective of what module you eventually belong to. The introductory module is a preparatory module. It sets you off for on the path for continuous professional development. It emphasizes on data integrity and principles which are very, 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 very valid and probably largely ignored at the academic level. It emphasizes on you the importance of imbibing the quality culture. Certain GXPs, which everybody needs, like good documentation practices, good manufacturing practices, are also covered. So that's the introductory module, which we'll take you through. Can we have the next slide, madam? Yeah. So we move on to the first module in our kitty, which is pharmaceutical operations. Madam just emphasized during her talk that we expect a big boom in the manufacturing sector. There's some projections that the contract manufacturing scenario is going to increase. It's going to more than double of what it is now, and it's already a 20,000 crore industry as of now. So there's ample scope, and it's it's challenges every day. So it's nowhere short of excitement to be in pharma operations. While you join us, we'll be taking you through the facility requirements totally in the setting up of a pharmaceutical manufacturing operation, which happens under the close eye of the regulatory agencies, and also has so much of quality checks in place. So the course will take you through the entire infrastructural development, the engineering aspects, the scale up aspects, unit processes which go into the manufacturing, and also touch up on the regulatory perspectives. Certain upcoming trends like PAT, the process analytical technology, continuous manufacturing will all also be touched upon. Next is the quality module. Again, as madam pointed out, this is one area, because of the strong knowledge base that pharma students have, they can really excel. They don't realize their capacity. It's usually not a very hot I would say area, but it's that's sad, truthfully speaking, because it's one area where you can really excel. So in this module we'll go through the entire quality with respect to the ICH practices. So you have the ICH Q10, or the pharmaceutical quality management systems, validation, verification, qualification, change management, risk management, and quality audits. So these are the parts which we will be going through in the quality module. I'll now hand over to my colleague, Dr. Varsha Pradhan, to take you through the remaining two modules. Hope to see you.
Yeah, thanks, Hema, and a very good morning, students and the faculty present here. I'm Dr. Varsha Pradhan. I actually started my career in the production area. So I was actually a skilled worker in Glaxo. And then I moved on to formulation development in Cipla and Sandoz. And then now into regulatory and pharmacovigilance also. In between, I was associated with academia. Currently, I'm based in Delhi, teaching the Delhi pharma students here and plus doing my regulatory work. So this slide just tells you a little bit about today. The focus would be more on my talk is on formulation development and regulatory. So a question to all of you is like, how do you really start your research work? So I think from my experience, I feel that unless it is an industry sponsored project, most of the college research work ends in a thesis, a patent, or maybe a publication in a high impact factor journal. So students, you really miss out on the commercial aspects. For example, when you select an ingredient for any particular formulation, do you know that there is something called an inactive ingredient database, which tells you about the safe excipients and the percentage which is acceptable? So my only advice here is that, start with the end in mind. Think that you're going to commercialize your product. This thought process will help your transition in the industry a little easier. So a perfect sync between formulation and the regulatory aspects will ensure a timely delivery of evidence-based medicines to the market. Next slide, please. So the A2I module 3 will focus on the practical understanding of the ICH quality module 3, involving characterization of API and product, the scale up, the technology transfer, pharmaceutical engineering, and troubleshooting. So what we have done with the first batch of students is we took examples of generic development, and we actually opened, the orange book for small molecules and the purple book for biologicals, which will help to understand the innovator product, which is the basic step for developing a generic product. Next slide, please. Okay, I purposely put this slide because I wanted to use the word regulatory science and not regulatory affairs. In India, regulatory is not considered a science. It is labeled as affairs. I would just like to say that regulatory is not only documentation work. It is a science of developing new tools, standards, and approaches to assess the safety, efficacy, quality, and performance of all regulated products. Next slide, please. So what do we do? So in our A2I module 4, we start with an example of a drug, develop a regulatory strategy involving countries to be launched, including understanding of patents and market exclusivities. So an understanding of the DMF, the common technical document, GMP, GDP requirements will ensure your product gets approval for all the concerned regulatory bodies. Next slide, please. I would like to end with this last slide. One thing is sure, I know that in the COVID pandemic, this has definitely created awareness as to who are the global regulatory bodies, why did a particular vaccine get approval under emergency use authorization, or how can we fast track approval? Our own Covaxin, is still awaiting approval from WHO, US FDA, and some other regulatory bodies. Why the gap? I'm sure this question did cross your mind. Are the approval procedures different? Are the communications different? Is there a resource crunch, or is it the timeline? I leave you with these thoughts. Over to you, Dharmesh. Thank you.
I hope it's clearly audible.
Yeah, Dharmesh.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So till now we just got a brief about what all things are there in the industry, what all things are missing in the academia, and what is it which industry is demanding, but we are nowhere close to it. So on the basis of that, last year it was 24th of October 2020 when we had this same session where we started with this intention of bridging the gap between academia and industry. Taking that same thing further, the batch 2 for A2I certification courses, where the motto is to take it to the next level, wherein we can bridge this gap to a greater level with all the advances in the last 1 year in different streams. Meanwhile, for our first batch of A2I certificate courses, we had 80 plus students who are being placed at different companies. Yes, few of those students had got placed via us, while few of us were via their college placements. So over here we have got testimonials from few of the students of batch 1. So they are all into different domains. Like you can check for Shefali Singh, which is being shown on the screen over here. She is presently working as Knowledge Management Associate at ZS Associates. So this is a consulting firm. The placement was via NIPER. It was not via us, but you can clearly observe with her testimonials that how she been getting into a certificate course of regulatory science helped her with her clients. So that was one advantage with her. Going to the next testimonial, the second one, which talks about Vaibhav. He was a student of ICT instead of chemical technology, placed at Dr. Reddy's via ICT. In that case, he was a student with us with regards to certificate course of formulation development. So as initially ma'am mentioned, which excipients, what to use, what not to use. Again, when it comes to formulation development, what are the different parameters which you take into consideration? Let's take example of simple remdesivir. Why remdesivir was just available as a injection? Why didn't we never have a tablet of remdesivir? Bioavailability was a problem and making tablet out of it was always a challenge. So yes, these are the few case studies and the practical approach which we will have during the coursework. And the third testimonial of the student of batch 1, which basically includes one of them being placed again into formulation development at Abbott Healthcare in innovation and development for Priyanka, and Ayushi, who is presently placed at regulatory affairs at a company named Asia Actual India Private Limited. She has clearly mentioned in her testimonial the part which Hima ma'am also mentioned about the capstone project. The capstone project is actually the practical part of it, where you are going to apply whatever you have read during the entire session. So if you perform well at a capstone project, it is somewhere close to what you are going to do at your industry level as well. So just to give you an idea about the timelines of the certification courses, the actual cost of the certificate course is 4,000 rupees. Everything would go online. Cost for early bird registrants till 3rd November 2021 is 3,500 rupees. If you come in a group of 5 to 7 students, the cost would be 3,000 rupees per student. Every final year B Farm student, M Farm student, PhD students can pursue this course. Duration will be 3 months across weekends. Yes, the sessions will only be on weekends. It would be 2 to 2.5 hours session on each weekend. Again, there would be MCQs based test at the end of the coursework, on the basis of which you will be graded that what was your performance and what was the understanding of your coursework. Most importantly, one-to-one mentoring for each and every participant. Yes, every student will be given a hand holding wherein you will get an idea about what is to be done, how it is to be done. So it's not just coming in, teaching and moving out. It's actually a whole blend of process where we'll be taking you from step one till step last. So basic understanding and the basic motto of this entire coursework is majorly just one. We want you to get ready for industry. We want you to be ready for the next change. We don't want you to be a part of the entire domain where we were there, where we faced problems, where we were not being taught according to the industry levels. And then when we stepped up in the industry, we came to know that, okay, these are all the gaps which needs to be addressed. And these are all the gaps where we are lacking, which we need to work upon. So the sooner you come to know that what are the different domains where you are missing, the better it is. So our advice to you would be basically get started, get in the lines wherein you can prepare and make yourself different from others, have a different set of knowledge so that you can think on different grounds rather than the conventional thought process as well. Before we close down on the session, I have shared one feedback form in the chat box. So I request you all to fill in the feedback, which will give us an idea to improvise further. And meanwhile, I also would like to just take you briefly through the four course brochures. So we are offering certificate course in regulatory science, as ma'am mentioned. Second one, formulation development. Third one, pharma operations. And lastly, quality assurance. For your information, quality assurance, more than pharma students, it's BSc, MSc candidates who are more over there. That's again a very big place where we should have been there, but we are not there. That's again an underlying gap. Again, pharma operations, most of us don't get into. That's again a very open stream, a very open area which you can get into. In case if you wish to go through this brochure of all the certificate courses, I've shared one hyperlink in the chat box. You can just go onto that link and you can download brochure of any certificate course you wish to refer to. And yes, most importantly, before we close down on the session, we have one important message from our mentor, Dr. Azaz Hussain sir. Since it's night time at US around 1 or 2 a.m., we don't have sir with us live over here now. So I just play the recording of the same. Just a minute.
Dharmesh, we can't hear. The audio is not there. Hello. You'll, you will have to share the computer audio.
Just a minute, ma'am. I'm checking again.
Yeah.
Just a minute. Almost.
You want me to try?
Yes, ma'am, if possible. It's just.
Yeah, just hold.
Ma'am, the last one, the extreme right one should help you. The one bottom, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not playing. I don't know why.
Just a minute, ma'am.
Um, or maybe you can share the link of this video to everyone. They can have a look. In the meantime, does anyone have any questions which we can take up?
Any queries from anyone? I'll just share the link of that YouTube video in the chat box.
Dharmesh, can I try? I think I can get adjusters.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah, please.
Rakesh, I suppose, like based on our experience and what I've seen in the industry, a lot of MS and biotech people are either getting into regulatory affairs or into IPR. So maybe that can stand in. And again, if you want to go into maps and all protein sequencing, then maybe formulation development can also be a part.
But you're not able to get the audio.
Ah, is
Same
it?
problem.
You need to share the computer audio, laptop audio.
Okay, because I can hear it. That's
Yeah.
No, at
of
the
course.
time of sharing, you have to enable that. Just try sharing again, Varsha.
Anyone, any questions from anyone? We'll probably be commencing with the course post Diwali. So that should not be a problem. I suppose few of you will be done with your exams very soon with internals and all.
There is a question. Currently pursuing second year. Is it second year B Farm?
Sagar?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so depending upon your interests, which area you would like to get into, once you complete your graduation or post graduation, you can join the course accordingly. Like if you're interested in research, you can join the R&D course. If you're interested in regulatory, you can join. It's all based on your interest, what you would like to get into. And secondly, joining any one of these courses will also be a guiding link for you moving forward, getting into the industry. So this would be my response to your question. Someone, Afzal has asked how this course add-on value getting placed. I'm doing my MPharm with pharmaceutics. Okay, since you're doing MPharm in pharmaceutics, obviously your interest would be more towards getting into R&D. So if you're getting into R&D and you join our course, you will learn exactly how industry would want you to handle the R&D projects. How industry carries out the complete documentation work with respect to R&D, how we carry out the complete, if you can say, pre-formulation studies, how various dosage forms are designed. So you will get more inputs than what you would learn just through your MPharm. If incidentally, even after doing MPharm in Sutix, you're interested in getting into operations, it would be a very good area and you will have an edge. Being an MPharm in the operations, you will be able to rise the ladder much faster. So if you join operations, as we mentioned, we will be actually teaching you the unit processes, how an industry is set up. so that you understand right from grassroots level how the industry is set up, how the various unit operations are done, what documentation as an operations shop floor person you are expected to have and maintain. All these things will be taught to you. And I think it would be a real good experience for you to as a stepping stone into industry. This is a very good question. How can I learn this R&D work in online program? Yes, we are not doing any lab work at all. It's absolutely online, where we will be more sharing our experiences. So instead of lab learning, you will be more of doing experiential learning. And this, believe me, is very, very important, because the case studies that we take up and the root cause analysis that we carry out for certain case studies that we pick up will be real eye openers for you, and which will definitely help you not just in getting a job, but even performing in an interview. Believe me, I mean, you will stand out amongst the crowd if you have certain case studies which you can quote during your interview, or some of our experiences which we share you can quote during any lab work. Lab experiences you can get anywhere, but these type of experiential learning which we will be sharing with you, I don't think you will get. And there are quite a few of us on this team who are with an R&D background, and we do openly share our experience.
Hello, ma'am. If you permit, can I just share my experience with A2I?
Oh, sure, Madhur.
Yeah,
Please.
I'm Madhur Kulkarni. I'm working as a faculty at Indira College of Pharmacy. And when I got to know about this course, and when I saw the faculty, even I joined this course. And it is from my personal experience that I can say that this is a very enriching and enlightening course. I mean, I actually pursued the regulatory sciences module, and it was for 3 months. But then, believe me, like, it was initially said that it would be for 20 hours, including all the weekends, 2 hours, etc. But then it went on to almost like 40 hours, because we were allowed to even attend the sessions from the other modules. And there were quite a few sessions by Dr. Parizad madam, who, I mean, that I attended, though she was teaching mainly in quality. And the experience was so good. And as madam has put up very correctly, it was an experiential learning, because many times what happens in academia, we end up being very theoretical. But then the faculty and all the, like, Dr. Varsha or Dr. Hema, Dr. Amita Karnik, Mala madam, and Parizad madam, and of course Ajaz Hussain sir, who's been the director of US FDA, their experiences and their long-standing experience in the industry has actually helped us in getting enriched with their exponential knowledge. And this is something which we cannot find when we are dealing only with the theory or bookish knowledge. Another highlight of this course was that all the students from all the modules, like all of us from formulation, quality assurance, as well as from regulatory and core operations, we were together working on a capstone project. And it was a absolute hands-on training, wherein we were supposed to actually make a product development report. So this hands-on training really helped us. And then there was a lot of hand holding done by the faculty of A2I, and they took extra sessions to guide us as to how to make this particular report, how to prepare a specification, how to go for, say, a batch manufacturing record, and how do you make those sheets. So this learning was, I think, incredible, and it was invaluable. And so I would, if Dr. Archana Karnik is there, she's also my colleague and she's a faculty member of our college, and she has attended the QA module of A2I. So if Archana ma'am is around, ma'am, you can
Yes,
also
ma'am.
share
I'm
your
here.
experience.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. So definitely, Madhu ma'am, as you have, like, this is the opportunity which was very, very useful for faculties also. like I'm being a QA faculty, like I'm dealing with the masters in pharmaceutical quality assurance. So in that there are so many concepts which remain only theoretical for us. So like what is like how the QMS quality management system is actually implemented in the industry, how the validation goes on, or how the audit is carried out, and how the regulatory compliance is checked while the audit is going on. So there are so many things which remain theoretical for us. But then when I attended this particular module uh, in quality assurance, which was again conducted by Parizad ma'am and Amrita Karnik ma'am, and we had few sessions of Azaz sirs. So in that we actually learn how what do you really mean by CGMP, like how it goes in the industry and how the different QMS concepts are actually implemented in the industry with very well examples and very well experiences were shared by all of them. So it was like, we understood it in a real time scenario. So otherwise that would have just remained as a theory in by delivering the subject. So it has helped me to deliver this particular subject, because it is ever changing, the regulations keeps on changing, the implementation keeps on changing, 21 CFR. So all those concepts became very, easy for us to understand, and even easy for students to understand it, because otherwise quality assurance concepts are very theoretical and they are very difficult to grasp, like what ICH guidelines and how they are implemented in the industry to achieve Six Sigma product quality. So that has really helped us, myself personally, to me. And I would definitely say that it was just of 20 hours, but it was more than, like, we got almost around 30 to 35 hours sessions. And there was demonstration of various software also. QMS software was also demonstrated to us. And it was really a good experience, as if we are actually dealing with the documentation and QMS in the industry. So that feeling I've had. So definitely, ma'am, thank you so much for arranging such a giving us such a great opportunity to understand these concepts and to share your real-time experiences with us.
Thank you so much, Archana. And Madhur, thanks for sharing your experiences. Yes, we do vouch that although we say it will be 3 months, but we may go a bit beyond that. And even if you look at our costings, it's bare minimal. We are not taking anything from this, believe me. It's just costs which we need to incur for the association and for the various platforms, online platforms that we are using in order to carry out this teaching course. So we are in it because of our passion. We want to share our experiences, and we want that students gain from that, and we get out good, rich, experienced and knowledgeable students, and we can give those students to industry as a gift from us. So please, it's all up to you. It's all based on your interest. There are a lot of questions asking us which subjects we should be taking up, but it's all based on what interests you. If I tell you take up QA, but your interest is not in quality at all and you would like to get into regulatory, please do whatever interests you most. If you see, as of today, the basic requirement is on regulatory, huge demand, and quality, huge demand. We all know that India has a lot of quality related issues. There are a lot of warning letters, import alerts put on companies. So if we get into the industry with the right type of mind frame, the right type of quality culture built into ourselves, I think you will be there and you will be able to make a big difference.
Ma'am.
I mean,
Ma'am,
some of the questions we have been answering online. So please have a look at the answers that we have been giving. Yeah, someone was saying.
yeah, ma'am, this is Archana Kanik, I just wanted to, like, there are so many students, I guess. So I just wanted to tell them that those who are interested in quality assurance, like, since you have conducted so many sessions in pharma quality assurance for us when I attended Pharma Elite certificate program. So for QA students, especially, like, there are so many opportunities which we came to know through Parizat ma'am during the sessions, that there are so many avenues and opportunities available for quality assurance, which are, you know, hidden. So those who are definitely interested in QA must get this course done, because you would definitely come to know there are so many opportunities. Being pharmacists, being masters in quality assurance, you have, and you can grow your career like anything. So yeah, that is what I just wanted to add, ma'am.
Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can I please ask something?
Yeah, please.
Ma'am, right now I'm studying in final year BCom and I
Can you
want
be
to
a
make
bit
my
loud,
career.
please? Hello.
Yeah, your voice is too low. If you can type it entirely in the chat box, even that would do.
Good afternoon, Mala ma'am.
Good afternoon. I got had some other engagement that is just over. So I thought
Oh,
I'll join.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But good to have you, as in, I was just looking out for you, and then at least finally you are here. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Hi, Mala.
Anyway.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Anyway, I
Yes.
was going through all the slides and all, and really, I think it has gone off very well, I'm sure.
Oh, it went
Lot
very
of
well, ma'am.
interaction.
Very
Yeah.
well.
How many participants are there? Now I joined from phone, but
I think Dharmesh
In
will be
the,
able.
yeah, ma'am, we are
Yeah.
60. At present, we are 60 plus. Earlier, we were 70, 80 plus.
Acha, okay. Some people have
I think probably some of them had problems joining through WebEx. Probably, I don't know. Later on,
Yeah.
when
I just
Dharmesh,
saw
you put the link, then only
Yeah,
even I could join with the password and with that number. Even I
yeah.
could not join. Yeah.
There is Nihal
It
Jagtap.
depends on my
He said,
question, no,
can I
Nihal.
please ask a question? Nihal, can you?
Ma'am, the question goes this way. I want to work in manufacturing department in a
Yeah.
herbal nutraceutical or cosmetic industry.
Okay.
So which course will be suitable for me? I'm studying in final year B.Pharm.
Operations, manufacturing
Yeah.
operations. So whether you are joining for pharma manufacturing or herbal nutraceuticals, the basics remain the same. Yeah, the basics remain the same. Only thing is they are governed by different agencies, like uh, DCGI governs pharma. Same way, there is an agency called FSSAI governs the nutraceuticals, and herbals are also governed by Drugs Controller General of India, DCGI. So whichever I would say you want to join, pharma or herbal or nutra, it's all related to medicines for humans, right? So the requirements remain the same. So if you are interested in manufacturing production operations would be the right choice. If you're interested in quality, you can go in for quality, because even over there, quality control, quality assurance is a big gap even in those industries. People feel that herbal products we can make at a lower level of quality and all. Sorry, that's not on. Herbal products are also taken by sick patients. Herbal products are also taken by human beings. You cannot play with quality. So it's your interest whether you want to get into quality on production shop floor or whether you want to get into manufacturing, actual manufacturing operations. So these two would be the choice that you can make.
Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Yeah, that is good to know actually that there are people who are interested in joining the shop floor and production, right?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, myself Prajakta Vengulekar, as I'm in the last year of B.Pharm, and I have interested in the pharmacology. So, what module I should go with?
See, as a pharmacologist, normally they go into clinical trials, clinical studies, bioequivalence studies, etc., which modules we are not right now taking on. But as a pharmacologist, you can play a big role in regulatory affairs. So probably regulatory would be a good department to join in, because I'm not sure how much you know about regulatory submissions. There are two huge modules where in pharmacology, toxicology, medical affairs, all this data is being captured, generated, written off, and submitted. So definitely, if you are interested in any of the courses that we are conducting, regulatory affairs, I would recommend should be the one for you.
Regulatory and even research. Research module also, although it would be more related to production or product development, but there also, I think research module also would be good. Both, right? Parizad? Hello.
Mala, she can do the module per se, but if
Yes.
she is then wanting to get into industry,
Hmm.
in MPharm with pharmacology, I don't think they find a place in formulation development, formulation R&D.
That will be more in drug discovery and all that
Yes,
they
yes,
get into, right?
yes, yes. I'm currently in TYB Farm, industry side. What kind of job would be? See, as a fresher from TYB Farm, this is Pranay, I think he's asked the question.
Yeah.
The being a B Farm student, all avenues are open. Once again, I would say, which is the area that interests you? Please get into that. Now, suppose I recommend quality assurance. Like, quality assurance does not necessarily mean quality assurance in quality department. Currently, there's a need of a QA person in each and every department. There is an R&D quality. There is an analytical quality. There is a quality control quality assurance. There is an engineering quality assurance. There is a regulatory affairs quality assurance. So it all depends on what is your interest. If you do two courses, say in parallels, quality assurance and regulatory affairs, you have the best of both worlds. You know what's required in documentation for regulatory submissions. At the same time, you know how to quality assure the document which is going into the submissions. Believe me, whatever submissions go in, quality assurance is the last person who signs off. Whatever product that goes in the market, quality assurance person is the final person who signs off. When a batch is being released from quality control department, quality control cannot release a batch. It is the quality assurance person who is finally signing off. To the extent, even when production is happening and the material is being dispensed for a particular batch, a quality assurance person is standing there signing off the final dispensed document. Even on production shop floor, quality assurance person is there doing periodic checks on the product that is being manufactured and on the document which is being generated along with the product that is being manufactured. This is the importance of quality assurance. That's why I time and again keep on saying that quality assurance is a vast area, and having a BPharm general degree, I think QA would be the right place to get into. Or if you're interested in production operations would be a right place to get into. If you are okay with documentation, regulatory affairs would be the right place to get into. So it all depends on your interest, what you would like to do.
Varsha, there is a question with regards to a bit of elaboration on regulatory science.
Varsha?
Yeah. So, see, regulatory is required right from drug discovery, I would say. Every step of the entire drug manufacturing, right from API development to formulation development, clinical trials, everywhere a regulatory person is required. So regulatory is a very broad area. So it all depends. You will get a degree in regulatory affairs or a certificate course. But finally, when you join the industry, you'll realize that regulatory is there everywhere. So I would say that a general understanding is very important, and then you choose which part in regulatory. There, believe me, you require even in the API, because if you say product characterization, that API characterization, you are going to submit your documents to the regulator. Who's going to approve it? The regulator. He will say, oh, you've not done this part of the experiment. So a regulator and a research person goes hand in hand. Similarly, clinical trials. Okay, you designed a protocol, you got an approval, but then finally all that data is going to be submitted to the regulator for approval. So who's going to submit the data if you don't do that protocol correctly? If you don't do it, the regulator will say, oh, half the data is missing, and you can't go back in. So the regulatory affairs course is there in the entire life cycle development of a drug. That would be nice. Anything else, Parizat ma'am, you would like to add?
Yeah, no, I think you've covered all. Any other questions that we have missed out? You can speak up, students, if you want to ask directly.
Probably last question which we can take up, and maybe then we can ask them to email in for queries. This question goes this way: if there is job for QA, then only those students who have done their MPharm in QA will get recruitment, or any other specialization is also eligible?
Any other specialization will also be eligible, provided you clear the interview and are able to satisfy the interviewers. So yes, MPharm and QA will definitely be preferred. But if you are in BPharm and you have an aptitude for quality assurance, and there are chances you may do in the interview much better than a MPharm and QA, definitely will be able to get a job. So even we recruit even BPharms in QA role.
Hope that answers your doubt, Firdaus.
Dharmesh, would you want to try and play the video again?
Maybe I'll just give a try.
Opportunity for pharma students in the program.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, someone wanted to say something?
I am audible, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah.
Ma'am, is there any course how we learn that quality is built into the product? I mean, QBD approach and Six Sigma concept means
Yeah.
the product which we'll have developed is must follow must be quality product.
Yeah, yeah. So we do teach principles of QBD as a general topic where all four are invited to join. So our QBD sessions are common, and we do make an announcement that the QBD session will be done on so and so date, and we see to it that all other sessions don't have any particular topic being taken up. So you're free to join. So QBD mainly would be with the R&D, product development. But if you are interested in QBD and you are doing some other session, definitely you are open to join. And
Thank you,
apart
ma'am.
from that, there was a question on design of experiments. So what we do is we invite design expert software owners to come and take a session. They do a couple of sessions where they explain how the software can be used. So you do get that exposure as well. Plus, at the same time, design expert people, they themselves conduct training programs. So you can approach them directly and join them as and when one of the training programs are being conducted.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, welcome. Damish, are you trying?
Yes, ma'am, almost through. Just a minute. I hope this time it should work out.
Academia to industry.
There.
What?
Yes, great.
Welcome, batch 2. I'm Ejaz Hussain, and I wish to share a few words to welcome you, as well as to share with you what I wish to contribute to your professional development in this program. Academia to industry is a critical transition. We often don't think about it that way. Now, looking back, I wish I had paid more attention. And that's the reason why I wish to engage and help you appreciate why this transition is critical and how you should prepare to bridge gaps that may be present to be able to establish a sound foundation for your professional development. A2I certificate courses offer a remarkable foundational opportunity to cultivate what I call a unique sensing proclivity, the sixth sense, to guide continuously your professional development in the pharma sector. We are a dedicated core team of faculty that have come together based on our shared values and commitment to share not just information, but the knowledge that we have cultivated in our diverse experiences. This program leverages the privilege that we must appreciate, that to work in the sector, by law and regulations, we are to be good in our current practices in a laboratory, in a clinic, and in a manufacturing facility. That is a privilege, and we need to leverage it, and this program is about that. Participating in A2I Batch 1 was a learning and development opportunity for myself, and learning and improving from the experience in participating in Batch 1, I will provide ways of expanding awareness and consciousness of what it will take to succeed in the chaos and the accelerated revolution called Industry 4.0. In my engagement with you, I'll be taking a development stance, looking back at myself, graduating with a B.Pharm degree from Bombay College of Pharmacy in the year 1981. What should I have known and what could I have done better then to be more successful today? Development lessons in initiatives that I had the opportunity to lead at FDA, starting with FDA's PAT initiative, Pharmaceutical CGMPs for the 21st century, and ICH Pharmaceutical Quality for the 21st century, and bringing that learning to the current state with ICH Q13, Q14 just proposed, and FDA's emphasis on maturity of quality management system and emerging technologies. What are the emerging trends and opportunities in pharmaceutical industry, particularly in India, and how India can be true to the slogan of pharmacy to the world, and how the pharmacy education in India, I think the foundation, you can build on that to be the pharmacy to the world. I think that is my intention in engaging with you in this program. My engagement with you will not be a typical lecture that you are generally familiar with. I will be sharing my deep experiential learning. I'll be focusing on processes in our mind, how to validate the processes of understanding and making sense of our experience to cultivate what I introduced to you, a unique sensing proclivity, the sixth sense to guide continuous professional development in the pharma sector. The term process understanding was defined in 2004 in the FDA PAT guidance. Making sense, the process of making sense from first principles was a practice in the PAT team building effort. Scientific training and experience needed to make decisions fairly and responsibly are directly from the US FDA and C Act. Education, training, and experience are part of CGMP regulations in the US. So the processes of understanding and making sense in our mind and in the material world to ensure validity of evidence and decisions are made fairly and responsibly. What are those processes and how do we leverage those processes is the topic of my discussion with you. And I recently gave a talk a few weeks ago on managing pharmaceutical quality while transforming to Pharma 4.0. It's available on YouTube. So if you wish, you could explore that and get a sense of how A2I program is structured and what is unique about it and why it is remarkable as to me, and it should be to you, and how you should prepare yourself to leverage this opportunity maximally. Welcome. I look forward to our engagement, and I look forward to the thrill of seeing you develop right in front of our eyes. Thank you so much, and I look forward to engaging with you as we go along. Thank you.
I've just reshared the feedback form in the chat box. If anyone has missed it earlier, it's a request to fill in so that we'll get an idea. I hope it's clearly audible now, right?
Yeah. So hope everyone enjoyed Dr. Ejaz Hussein's video. He is one of our mentors, one of our speakers, and he also, believe me, shares his experiences that he's having since past 38, 40 years. So it would be a great opportunity for you all to even listen to him during few of our sessions.
I suppose there are no queries, so we can close down as of now. In case if there are any questions from anyone's end, feel free to reach out to us. Contact details and everything is again back on the screen, so feel free to reach out to us in case of any questions from your end. Rest all details will be shared to you over post registrations. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, Indira College of Pharmacy, Madhur ma'am, Archana ma'am, for your timing. And yes, a big thanks for all our mentors and for sharing their wide experience, which we probably might take a longer time to learn about. But with your knowledge, it would be possible in a shorter time. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks Dharmesh, and thanks all the faculty, thanks all our mentors for joining this and enlightening the students about the course. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
sir.
Bye everyone. Have a nice
Bye-bye.
weekend.
Yeah, have a
Thank you.
nice weekend,
Bye.
man. Yeah, bye-bye.
See you, ma'am.
Bye.